Okay, thank you for coming, everybody. Tonight we have a special treat, a speech by ArolWulf. Arol has been a political activist, political, social, spiritual activist since 1957, when she began fighting nuclear weapons. And today she has started an artist commune in Texas. It's been going since about 1969, where they produce magazines and a whole slew of things which will be available after the show. After the speech, if you guys want to pick some stuff up, they're going to bring over t-shirts and tapes and things like that. Basically it's been a revolutionary movement to try to, well, she'll tell you that, change the way things are, because things are kind of crazy right now. So, without further ado, this is ArolWulf.
I'm so relaxed and I'm usually really nervous, so I'm afraid I'm not going to be very good because I'm too relaxed. But we'll give it a try. I didn't really know where to start this thing. I've been talking to a lot of universities lately and talking to a lot of environmental groups, and find myself talking about an organization that I started about 6 months ago called the Equilibrium Alliance, which has about 3,500 members in it right now, mostly young people. Andy mentioned Zendik Farm, which is the community that we formed in 1969, and basically it has the highest proportion of young people than any other community on the continent. The magazine that we publish, we put out 50,000 quarterly, is sold all around the world, mainly on the streets. Copies have been found in South Africa and bootleg there, Israel, where they cut out certain portions and send it on to the guy who wanted it, in a little place in Thailand, up in the mountains, left in a hut, in back seats of cars, on buses and trash cans, on supermarket newsstands. And we get a lot of mail every month, between 200 and 400 letters a month from young people all over the world. I guess why I'm talking about this right now is because this is my concern. I have a young daughter, as well as most of the people at the farm are pretty young. And I have been feeling more and more and more desperate as years have gone on. As Andy said, I belonged to SANE in 1957. I found out all about Strontium 90 and all the stuff it does, and all the reports that were being published by great guys that the government suppressed. And they've been doing it ever since. Well, that was one thing. But the culture was still kind of alive. People were still human. People weren't so pressed down. And what's happened is that you used to talk about the environment, but it's too late now to just talk about the environment, because as the environment has degraded, the social degradation has gone along right with it. So it's shown us old holism people, and holistic thinking means that one thing affects the other. But you can't do one thing without affecting another. If you dump DDT into a little stream somewhere, it's going to find its way to the ocean. And that's holistic thinking. So you can't destroy the very elements of the earth of which we are made without destroying the social, psychic fabric and ultimately the spirit of human beings. And that is exactly what is happening now. The world is an accumulative mess, and it's happening very, very swiftly. When your kids can't go to school without the possibility of getting murdered, you're in bad shape. There was a headline in an Austin newspaper. It said, because there had just been a shooting at a school in Austin, a high school, and they said, "Schools no safer than society." And it was such a naive statement. I mean, they'll tell you that everything's fucked, just like flat out, and not know what they're saying. But some of us pick up on what they're saying and what we're going through. I mean, I am a farmer. I am a real farmer. I'm not like a fake farmer. I'm a real farmer. So I deal with a lot of farmers. I'm in connection with them, you see. And I know what they're up against. And I know how they're being poisoned and dying. And they feel that there's no way out. I deal with people on the streets all the time. I have what's supposed to be the #1 public access show in Austin, I'm told. And most of the people who watch that show feel exactly as I do, that we've got to do something. We've got to do something. A couple of weeks ago, Kurt Cobain blew his head off. I don't know how many of you knew him or liked his music or whatever, but to me and everybody at the farm, that was the latest shock. And I thought it was very interesting that somebody in the New York Times said, God, he had the world by the tail and he let it go. And I know why he let it go, because he got to the top of the pile, and when he looked down, it was a big pile of shit. He got to the top of nothing. Absolutely nothing. There is nothing that the culture is doing right now that is going anywhere except towards death. Globalization. The corporations have formed one world for us. We always used to say one world, think globally, act globally. It's beautiful. Well, they did it. They thought locally and acted globally, and they belong nowhere. They belong to no country. They are freewheeling carpetbaggers going all over the world, setting up their tents, ripping the people off, moving them when they complain that the wages are too low or they're dying from poison. The people start complaining and they pick up their tents and they move somewhere else. And they leave devastation behind them everywhere. Subsistence cultures that have been going on for hundreds of years, gone. Their children, decimated. 12-year-old prostitution all over Africa and Asia. You see street kids in Latin America sniffing glue and getting offed by the local cops. And our kids are in total despair. The UN did a report. They said that of all the industrial nations, 9 out of 10 young people are murdered in the United States. That's their method of death. That this is the most unsafe country for a young person today in the developed world, what they call the developed world. The developed world, my friends, means the rip-off world, means that 25% of the people, the population, are in the developed world, and we consume 75% of the resources and create 75% of the waste and the toxic waste and trash. That's the developed world. The developed world is a rip-off mentality. The undeveloped world is a great source of cheap labor and land. A long time ago in Brazil, I saw them interview a man who had lost his children to starvation, He was a peasant. He was living out in the high plains of Brazil, which has always been very hard to earn a living. And they asked him, well, do you have any food? And he said, no. And they said, well, what do you feed your child? He had one child left. And he kept saying, herba dulce, sweet tea, herba dulce. Well, what does he have for lunch? Herba dulce. What does he have for dinner? Herba dulce. He was waiting for his third child to die of starvation. And at the end of the interview, they panned back from that scene of talking to that man, and there were lush green fields behind him of sugarcane. Sugarcane being grown for alcohol, for gasoline, to run cars in Rio de Janeiro. So that kind of mentality, that kind of immorality, that kind of ethicless perspective is destroying everything. And there was a phrase, I was driving through the South once, and they always have the churches, you know, and we come from Texas, and they're pretty, home fundamental down there. And we're going by a church, and there's a sign, and it says, a people without vision will perish. And that's what we have now. We have a people without vision. So you cannot save the environment unless you save human beings. You cannot save the environment unless you save everything. We are the cause and we are the cure. So this Equilibrium Alliance, I don't want to become involved this way at all. I just figured enough of us doing co-ops and communal groups and getting the word out and all that would be enough. I figured, you know, independent people doing action everywhere and it would all come together. But I'm scared now. I'm really scared. And I'm scared because of the young people that I live with and the young daughter that I have. Because it doesn't look like much of a world is going to be left unless we can begin an ethical revolution. Unless we can begin a revolution without shooting anybody, without guns, but we can legislate a revolution. We can legislate in a different kind of government. It doesn't have to be the way it is. See, everybody's stuck in this kind of, this is the way it is and this is the way we do it. Just like they tell you it's human nature. It's human nature to be greedy. It's human nature to be avaricious. It's human nature to be selfish. It's human nature to be cruel. There's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is, kid. You know, accept it, grow up, face reality. That's the way the world is. Don't bother to do anything else. Take your ideals, forget it. When you get into the real world, you'll forget all this crap. And what we're saying is, don't forget this crap. Your ideals are all you have. The ideals of children are beautiful. The answer to its human nature is something I said to a reporter once when we were fighting a dump off of Indian reservations, and he said that was human nature, and I asked him if he had any children. And he said, yeah, and I said, well, how old? 3. Do you look into her eyes? Yeah. Is she cruel, avaricious, vicious, selfish? Was she born that way? No. She wasn't born that way. If she was born that way, she would have come out of the womb going, you know, give me mine. You know, that's terrible. See? So to me, that's what human nature is. Human nature, get myself in the jar. Human nature, the way they use it, is we were born in sin, we were born rotten, that's our nature, that's who we are, and we were born competitive, we were born cruel, we were born in it for ourselves, and there's nothing we can do about it. And our answer to that is bullshit. Anybody who's lived in community, anybody who's gotten together to fight an issue, you know, with a lot of weird people, you know, anybody who's done anything like that, when you get together with people from all different walks of life, you find you're working together. All of a sudden you don't care that the lady next to you has drip-dry pants and little short gray hair and you have a tattoo and a gold tooth. All that goes by the board. You're just in the fight together. You have a common enemy and you get to work and you cooperate, you work together, you share everything, you get in there and you battle. You battle together. Essentially, that's what the 60s was about. It was reaction, it was a healthy reaction to a crappy war. Kids did not want to go over there and come back in body bags. And we wrote one of the most forceful anti-war essays that was ever done. It was called Don't Go. It got over into the trenches. We got a letter from a guy once who said he came across a copy of Don't Go. He offered his buddy $10 for it and his month rations if he would give him his copy, and he said no, he wouldn't give it up. And shortly after that, Charlie Company didn't go out when they were told to go out. So we felt very successful, besides counseling kids all through the war on how to stay out of that. So the Vietnam War galvanized young people. So did pot and so did the Beatles. Because when they got stoned, and a lot of us have been stoned way before that, some of us old people, but when everybody started getting stoned, everybody started getting relaxed, and everybody started having a look around, and they didn't want to go die. And when they did go over there, they were stoned on acid, they were stoned on grass, they were stoned on hash, they were stoned on anything they could get hold of. And when they started picking up pieces of bodies, their minds started cracking. Hence, we have what we have now in so many vets wandering our streets out of their minds because of what they were led to do. And what they were led to do was for nothing. It was so that Coca-Cola can now go into Vietnam and have an open market. That's what was the result of the Vietnam War. We've got a new market. And that's the mentality. And if you don't get this now, if you think you're going to go to college and get a degree and plug in and get a good job and do all that, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. They'll dump you. They are dumping Harvard men who are 50 years old, 40 years old. They're putting them on the streets with no pensions, no fancy plans, no nothing. Because they're too old. Because they want some young guys and they can do the same thing with them. It's become a free-for-all, and everybody knows it. So you have to get over your apathy, you have to get over your cynicism, and you have to dedicate your life to change. You have to do everything else too. You have to get up in the morning and do the work that you love to do, hopefully. But if you're not working to change things, then you really don't deserve to do anything that you do to hold yourself together. Because this is a war. You don't know it yet, but it's a war. And it's on the streets. It's on the streets, it's in the schools, it's on the campuses, it's everywhere. And what we have to do is fight the common enemy. And we have to get together in a cooperative way and begin to change. The United States government does not have to stay a Congress, a Supreme Court. My God, that word, a Supreme Court. Can you imagine? What could be supreme about a court? It should be changing all the time. You say there shouldn't be a Supreme Court. The country should be broken down into bioregions. People of their bioregions should have the say on what happens in those regions.
Right on.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if anybody here knows what bioregions are. But bioregion is the kind of place you live in, what its biology is, whether it's prairie or forest or woods or cities. Okay, cities are in bioregions, so every city is a little different. I'm not talking about just going rural and breaking down into rural communities. I'm talking about retaining our cities. There are plenty of people who can tell you how beautiful our cities can be. I'm not here for that. I'm here to basically get you to join the Equilibrium Alliance. To sign up, you see, get on the mailing list, get in a situation where we can begin to network with each other, exchange ideas, and decide how the hell we are going to change things. If you're not interested in changing things, don't sign up, because then you'll just be dead weight. But if you'd like to change things and you don't know exactly how, then sign up. Because the only way we are going to do it is by getting together, networking with each other, talking to each other, writing to each other, calling to each other, getting on the computers together, and we'll figure it out. You see, you can't even run for Congress. You can't do that. Because if you get into Congress, there's nothing you can do. You've sold half your guts by then. You've had to, it's like the president, right? By the time he gets in, and the corporations have raised $500 million for him, no matter how well-intentioned he is, he's got a lot of favors to return. And that's what he's going to do, because that's the only way he's going to stay in power. And he knows it. And that's any president. In a certain way, I preferred Bush. At least he was openly disgusting and didn't make any bones about it. I mean, he was so disgusting you could galvanize against him. But with Clinton, it's a little like, oh, well, he's a Democrat, and oh, he's better than nothing. And all of us that wanted Al Gore, oh yeah, Gore's going on the ticket. I haven't heard a word out of Gore, except to approve a incinerator in Liverpool, Ohio, that those people have been fighting for almost 10 years. That's killing that town. Oh, Gore approved it, because Gore is being paid by the same guys. And anywhere you go in this country or the world, the same guys are paying the politicians. The same people who were running the temples when Christ turned the tables over. The same people. Instead of wearing togas, they got attaché cases and little suits. Okay? Instead of a chariot, they got a stretch limo. It's the same people. They just can't change costumes through the centuries. And it's time now to stop it. It's time now to stop it. If we don't, there won't be anything left. They are too stupid. They are the proverbial guy sitting on the branch sawing it off. They're sawing off their children's future. They wouldn't want to do that if you told them that, but they rationalize it. Hey, Philip Morris's economy is worth more than New Zealand's domestic gross product. The Ford Motor Company's economy is worth more than Saudi Arabia and Norway. Saudi Arabia, I mean, we're talking a rich country. Ford is bigger than that.
Eli Lilly.
Huh?
Eli Lilly.
I don't know.
Pharmaceuticals.
Pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals. The 8 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world are the 8 largest producers of pesticides. That is nuts. You cannot produce something that will kill everything and then produce something else that will cure everything, and that's why there's a million cases, new cases of cancer every year, and 1 in 4 of us are going to get it. Because you can't have that. Now, if you had a company that was producing organic materials, those same people could possibly produce medicines, but not people who are engaged in the process of killing everything on earth. You guys, if any of you have been around farms, it's amazing. They come in with those trucks and they sterilize the soil. And then they come back again and they lay on the herbicide. And then they come back in again and they lay some more on. And then they raise the food and they give it to you. And you get cancer. Now, a lot of people don't believe that. They think you get cancer from the sky. You don't get cancer from the sky. You earn cancer. Cancer is produced for a reason. You cannot get away with what we are doing. And you cannot get away with turning your back on anything, on any of it. You won't escape it. You will not escape it. It will come and get you. And I'm telling you the truth. It will end up on your lap. You see, when the Nazis stormed in the doors, they finally said, oh shit, this guy means it. Well, these people mean it. They are decimating everything. And the only thing we can do is take our highest ideals, the thing that makes us so precious, you see, as human beings, our minds, our souls, our spirit, our ability to feel for each other and to feel for the earth. That's what we take, and that's what we hold dear, and that's what we act upon. And we don't settle for anything less.
No nonsense.
Thank you.
Let's outsmart them.
That's the only way to do it, because they're a bunch of dummies. And dumb people are very weak. They look very slick. Hey, I just came across country. I cannot fly. I found out the hard way. I can't fly. I'm too old. As I said, when I used to fight, was in a big fight once in California, and the only people who wouldn't fly were me and the old Indian ladies who would come in out of the reservations, and they wouldn't fly either. And everyone made fun of us, so I thought, well, for this thing in Worcester, we will fly. I am going to do it. I got on a plane, and I nearly died. So we got off, and we got in the car, and we headed out across country. And that's how we got here. So we're driving in this stupid white rental car that everybody knows is rented, you know, and you're afraid to pull in the wrong neighborhood because they're going to back into you, and you're going to get out, and they're going to kill you and all that. So you're very careful, right? Oh God, these guys are going to know it's rented. They never bother equilibrium cars because they look like hell, and you know, they're hippie and all the rest of it, so they don't bother our vehicles. But this fresh new white thing, you know, and it's a mid-size. I know, I'm going to tell you a story. Now it's very weird because this is the way my mind works. But see, this thing has all these doodads on it. You leave your signal on, it beeps, you know, like a department store, you know, those little beep, 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 Mrs. Jones, come to the front desk, you know, that kind of thing. So the thing beeps, you left it on a minute too long, and the thing beeps, and you're going, oh my God, what's happening, you know? Is it going to blow up? Because you don't know anything about, right? You can't start the thing unless your foot's on the brake and your key is just so, and they have all these little bells going off and chimes ringing, and you're like, you want to take the thing and destroy it, you know? You want to get a hammer and bang it and then bring it back to the rental agent and say, here, you know, you made me buy insurance, okay, here. This is what happened to it, you know? You see, because you hate it by then. And you also hate it because it's a mid-sized car that you can't seat 4 people in because there's no room for your legs. So they have gained nothing. They give us these little gadgets and we think, wow, how efficient. This is wonderful, you know? But you can't stretch out in it. If you put another person in the car, you'd all be like this, and it's a mid-sized car. You see them, you know? Hey, I love those old caddies with the great big fins on them. Those obnoxious cars that Texans always drive. Texans drive, they put their hat on, they put one hand on the back here. This is rules and regulations, right? One hand, turn on cruise control, go. And use all the gas you want. My girl, don't bother about it. But it was more aesthetic in the sense that you had room. So you could go, you know, in Texas you drive. If you ever try to get out of Texas, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's hell. It's how you go, I'm still in Texas? Jesus, I've been driving for 2 days. Can't we ever get out? You know, you wait, you long to get out of Texas. Can we get out of here so we can go on with the rest of the country? You know, you go in this thing across Texas and it's hell, you see? And you can't even lay in the back seat because they got a hump in it, so you're like crippled. See, the good old caddies, they had comfortable seats and all that. We've gotten nothing. I know this is a stupid little silly story, but to me, it's symbolic. They've given us all this fancy, clean crap that makes us feel that, oh, everything's working just fine. You see, we were lost in the Dallas airport. Have you ever been lost in the Dallas? It's scary. So we had to take this tram to go to this other side of the airport. And when I saw the tram, it was like the last straw. So I got on and I said, you know what? We need a revolution. I said to the people in the car, we need a revolution. This is disgusting. And, you know, and I think regular people, you know, with the briefcases, and I thought, oh, they're going to like die when I say that. I just fell out of my mouth, you know. I couldn't help myself. I'd just been very sick. And this guy is sitting there, and you know what he says? He says, you know, he says, you could walk there faster. They made us get on this tram, see? And everybody knows you could walk there faster, and everybody knows it's somebody's brother-in-law that had the contract to build the tram. He was going to make some money, see what I mean? And everybody knows it. Where we're staying here in Clark, this lovely room, the bed wasn't made or something, so the lady came to make the bed, and we started talking. We started talking about planes. She said, oh, I've never been on a plane. And we started laughing, and she, was sympathetic for me for being old and tired. And she said, we're talking about what's happened in the world, you see, because when you're 56 years old, it's not like you grew up at a different time. I grew up in one of the worst areas of New York. These slums, I mean, Hell's Kitchen. How I ended up in Texas, long story. But anyway, I grew up there, and we left our doors open. And I'm talking about the 40s. Our doors were open. It was the roughest neighborhood in the city, and our doors were open. We never locked our doors. And all the neighbors knew us. That was before TV, BT, before TV, BA. Okay? When everybody went in and went, wow, yeah, efficiency, look at this. Hey, we crowded in a room when I was a kid, when the TVs first came out and some neighbor got one, it was this big a screen, and we all gathered around it, saying we were going to see something great, and it was Howdy Doody. It was a puppet show. You guys don't know who Howdy Doody was. He was really bad. See? And a lot of us kids went, oh my God, this is what it's all about, But that was the beginning of the end. Because once that happened, the doors closed. Nobody came out on the streets anymore. Nobody knew anybody anymore. They were being done. Going to sleep. Didn't have to think anymore. Didn't have to relate anymore. Didn't have to feel anymore. Didn't have to make contact anymore. And what I'm talking about, guys, is making contact. You say, well, I've appointed myself head of the Equilibrium Alliance. I've done that because I trust myself. Say, I'm not after power. If somebody wants to do it, take it. Do it right. See? But what I am telling everybody is that we've got to do something. And we've got to start now. You see? And I'm telling you to trust me. I wouldn't hurt you. I don't even want to do it. I really don't. I love to farm. I love to garden. I love to talk to people. I like my neighbors. I'd rather not ever leave the farm again in my whole life because I love the land. I love the sky. When I walk on my farm and I walk out into the middle, see, it's 300 acres and it's got a river on both ends, and you walk out to the middle and you look up at that Texas sky and it's this beautiful dome, and it just makes you want to cry. It's so beautiful. One of those days where you just go, screw this, I hate it, I hate people, I hate everything, I can't get stoned anymore, I can't have a drink anymore, what the hell am I going to do? Start hiking, and about an hour later, calm down and feel the earth, and feel the sky. See, all of a sudden everything starts cooling out. Don't hate them anymore. Don't need to get stoned anymore, can't. All right? And everything starts coming down, and in that, the love returns. I'm a hard old broad, but I have a lot of love in me. I have a love for our earth and our creatures, and I dearly love our children, and I really love young people. Because it's your world. It's going to be your world. It's going to be your world. I may have ripped it all. It's an inorganic philosophy that's running everything. In 1776, there was a philosophy. John Locke, Rousseau were talking about natural man. They were talking about democracy. Up till that time, everybody thought, oh, you could only be divinely born, a king of royal blood to rule anything. But these guys, Jefferson, Madison, all these guys, wondered. They were influenced by other philosophers, and they started something, and it took off. So they changed something. And now there's another philosophy, and it's called equilibrium. And there's a philosopher called Wolf Zender. He's my old man. Yes, I know I'm prejudiced, but love isn't blind. When somebody's stupid, I don't love them. I don't care how long I've been with him. He's a philosopher. He's come up with equilibrium. It's a very elegant philosophy. It's essentially about cooperation, not competition. It's essentially about communication, not currency. It's essentially about getting in and working out our problems together as a family. As a family. That's what we are. It's in our DNA. We are community creatures. We need to be with our own kind. That's the kind of animal we are. We're not loners. We are not loners. That's not the way we took over the world. We took over the world because we could exquisitely communicate with each other. You see? So we could take over. All the other animals were bigger than us, stronger than us, tougher than us. But we had something. We had objectivity, and we had the ability to help each other and hang in with each other in a way that no other animal has, to that extent. Not to that extent. And that's how we took over. And that's what we have to do again. We have to come together as creatures, sharing the same fight, in it for the same reasons, and create a beautiful world. You see, love thy neighbor is not a stupid phrase. It's a survival phrase. But we can't do it now because our neighbor could kill us. And that's wrong. It won't work. It's not working. The environment, our planet, is essentially dying right now. And it's very hard to conceive. When I go to the ocean, it looks the same to me as when I was a kid. But what's underneath it, what I can't see, is the destruction that I just know about from people who have filmed it. And I know it's dying. And it doesn't have to. You see? And at the same time, the spirit, the love of the people is dying. And it doesn't have to be like that. We can be together. We can love each other. As corny as it sounds, as Che Guevara said, a revolutionary is guided by great feelings of love. That's what I am. I'm a revolutionary. Not a bloody one. Hey, I wouldn't mind if nobody would get hurt. But they've got the smart bombs. They can put them down a little incinerator and hit the wrong person. It's not the way to go about it. We have, here in this country, a fantastic opportunity because we can legislate change.
Yeah, we can.
We come from a tradition of revolution. Lincoln said it. Lincoln said it in his first inaugural address. If the people don't like it, they can amend it, dismember it, or overthrow it. In the preamble, it says, we can do that. The preamble to the Constitution of the United States. It's in our tradition. We can do it. See, I don't vote because there's nobody to vote for. I almost voted for Clinton when he put in Gore, but I just couldn't face it. I couldn't bring myself to vote. And I met a relative the other night who's a very voting kind of person, very upright, not like me, and he said the same thing. He said, you know, for the last 8 years I haven't been able to vote. But we have that vote. 51% of us don't vote. Why don't 51% vote? I'm on the streets enough to tell you why, because they have enough common sense to know that no matter what they vote for, they ain't voting for nothing that has to do with them, so they stay home. Because they know it doesn't make any difference. So Equilibrium is going to change the voting age to 16. Because 16-year-olds are very trustworthy. They haven't gotten out in the world yet and sold out. You see, they can still have their ideas. So if you're 16 now and you join Equilibrium, well, by 2000, you'll be old enough to vote. And we can all get out and vote. We can use our vote. And by that time, we will have worked out how to do it. And we'll vote it in. And none of us will get shot. We've had martyrdom after martyr, after martyr, after martyr, after martyr. I basically feel it's a man's philosophy. I feel that men are responsible for martyrdom. Because they don't know how to network. Men are great. I'll go on a little diversion. Men are really good at specific things. They are brilliant at it. They can really focus on something. But they don't know how to network. When I talk to women, they go, oh yeah, right, I understand that. And are like, huh? You know, what? You think so? You know, a little slow. I'm not talking about all men, but that's your tendency, fellas. I know, I run a farm. Men used to run the farm, we took it away from them. They're a shitty job, you know, they don't know how to do it. They can't relax, they can't have any fun. We're always being men, you know. We don't have to do that, that's why I said, girls go to the John together, you know. We don't sit there looking at each other's size or worrying about it, you know. We just go, we're not worried. We're not afraid of our bodily functions, we understand each other. Hey, women traditionally, I'm one. You take care of your children, you take care of your grandchildren, you take care of your old parents. You are designed, our brains are designed. They're looser than men's. We don't have that big, thick thing through the middle of both sides of our brains. We can make connections very fast. So we can grasp this. We can work together. You know how most grassroots activists are women? You know these little old ladies all the time. You know, man, they're sharp. And they just get out there and they work, and they're fantastic to work with, and they're quick. So that's another aspect of the equilibrium revolution. We're going to put it straight. Who can do what? Okay? And men running things, that's a disaster. Won't work, hasn't worked. It's we got to get them out of there and do the things they can do and leave us alone and let us provide. It's our home sphere, it's our household. We have to hold it together. Biologically, that's what we did. You know, the men go out hunting, but the women hang around and keep things together. And that's still true. So we're going to straighten all that out, so that's a little side note. Hey guys, you'll be able to relax, you'll have a lot of fun, you'll stay out of the way. You see? So we'll send you all home from Congress, we'll rehabilitate you, we'll teach you how to do something. See, congressmen don't know how to do anything. See, in an equilibrium government, this is what's fun. In an equilibrium government, there wouldn't be a Washington, D.C. See, because you don't need it. You're in bioregions, you have your bioregional government, you have a national group of people that all the bioregions have sent to be in this group. It meets only when there's something that has to cross boundaries, or for some reason goods or services have to be changed. Everybody stays home. The quote president, whoever that is, if we have one, is a gardener or a painter or a mechanic or a teacher or whatever, and he talks to everybody, and everybody talks to everybody through computers. We're doing it right now, right? It's a beautiful way to live, you know. It's a lot of festival. Anybody read Architopia? It's kind of like that, you know. It's kind of like that. It's relaxed. You don't have white cars. You don't have cars. You know what I love? When you're on the LA freeway, the smog is so bad, people are dying, literally, as they wait in the traffic jam. And so, some joker's got on his bumper sticker, and he means it. Free men, we're free. Free to make choices. And there they are on the freeway, the stretch limo, the junker, the VW, they're all together, sitting in the smog and smoke, with the delusion that they're free. We are not free. We are consumer slaves. We are demographics. That's who we are to the powers that be. We are demographics. And globalization just means a great big mall all over the earth with only a quarter of the people being able to afford to buy anything in the mall. And everybody else doesn't count. You're a trash human being if you're poor. Well, equilibrium is not that kind of government. It's not that kind of country. It's very relaxed, very laid back, and very sharing. It doesn't barter, it just provides for each other. We provide for each other. That's how tribes always work. Nobody, if I'm in a tribe, I don't say, hey, I'll give you 2 pigs, you give me a bracelet. It doesn't work like that. Everybody provides for everybody. That's how it works. That's what hunter-gatherers did. They just came at the end of the day, piled everything in the middle, and everybody sat down and shared the goodies. Agriculture, once agriculture, I know I'm going on a lot of things, but just bear with me. When agriculture came in, it became, this is mine and this is yours, and don't touch mine, I'll kill you. And that was the beginning of the end. Because we can't do that. It's not organic to us as a species. So after 10,000 years, 12,000 years of it, when agriculture started, we are at the end. And we are at the end of a long joyride of ripping off, of taking what we wanted and leaving nothing. And now we are faced with a collapse, and we are faced with a disintegrating social culture. It is at the end, and a new time is coming. And I say, by 2000, we should have it in place. That gives us 6 years. If we're real busy, we got the time, and we can do it. So I think that's it. I will now ask you for any questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I heard your remark about women networking much better than men. I thought that was very interesting. I also think it's true.
Oh, good.
If women are a majority in this country, and if they network much better than men, why have we never had a woman president?
Because women aren't free. We are a subjugated group. We have been subjugated for many, many years. We just got the vote, if you'll think back, about, what, 50 years ago? Or no, more than that. We just got the vote, right? They were still slaughtering us a couple of centuries ago because we look weird, or because they wanted our land or whatever. We have been subjugated for a long, long time, and we're just now getting up on our little two hind legs and trying to find out who we are and what we can do in a patriarchal society. You see? So we have not been a president, and as far as I'm concerned, anyone who would run for a president, any of the women congressmen I have seen, and I say congressmen because that's what they act like, you see, they're women pretending they're men. They don't bring their feminine perspective. They don't bring their feminine emotion. They're taught to change that and hide that and be a man and be tough and be logical and all that stuff, you see? So we don't even have a woman yet, you see, who can really bring the female perspective to the job. So a female president at this point is only going to be another president backed by the same corporations, put in by the same patriarchy, and you're going to end up with the same thing. Indira Gandhi got blown away because she wasn't, she was another guy.
Do you see Hillary Clinton as a positive force for change?
Gee, poor Hillary. I think she's a little, dingy. I admire her, in certain ways, but she's too soft in a certain way. She's, you see, you can't bomb the last bombing of Iraq that the Clintons did. You see, they bombed Iraq, right? They hit the wrong buildings. Little kids died, artists died, everything disaster. And on that same day, Hillary and Bill Clinton came out of church, arm in arm, smiling. You can't get away with that. I don't care. So when I saw that, I thought, Hillary, you poor little dope. You don't get it with your search for meaning. Politics of meaning. That's meaning. That is meaning when you order a bombing that has nothing to do with the man that you really want, that you're afraid to take out because he's a good business customer. Hussein. That's why they haven't taken him out. Hussein, or how they pronounce it. See? Because he's good for business. Just like the world spends $2.9 billion a day on military armaments. 15,000 gun dealers in this country earned $15 billion or $30 billion. It's good business, just like jails. There's 1 million of our people in jail. 1 million. And 500,000 are waiting in county jails to go to the big jail. And half of that million in jail is there on drug-related charges. Victimless crimes. Drugs. The Partnership for a Drug-Free America bullshit is funded by the beer companies and the tobacco companies. Use our drugs, not theirs. We can't control theirs. You see? Just like they used to bomb all our friends in Northern California who were growing great grass, but they couldn't get any money off it, so they put them out of business so they could bring the Colombian shit in, where everybody's on the take. So Hillary's a little, doesn't know too much about the world. She knows the world of big business. She knows that she's got a friend who can take $1,000 and turn it into 100,000. She knows about that. See, she means well, but she's in it too deep.
Do you think
She's
most
in
people
it.
mean well?
Huh?
Do you think most people
I
mean
think
well?
most people do mean well. I think there are very, very few evil people on earth. I mean, really evil. I think most of them mean well. They're just not together. And especially the ones who've grabbed power. Because the ones who've grabbed power know about money. And money is an abstraction. So they don't know how to do anything. That's why I say they have to be sent home and rehabilitated. Say, you got to take a congressman, senator, and teach them to do something. You know, send them to trade school.
Teach them to work.
You know, yeah. Do something. So that's how I feel about Hillary. Personally, I like both of them. You know, if I met them, which I might, I would like them face to face. You know, I would feel, okay. I might even like Bush. I might have even liked Nixon. You know what I mean? You meet people and you forget what they're doing. You know, Hitler was a vegetarian. What are you going to say? You see what I mean? You meet people and you forget what the hell they're doing behind the back doors. So it's easy. But so by a man's actions shall you know him. And that's the truth. Life is action. It's a four-letter word. Just like the other one. So it's what you do. Really, not what you say. All children know that. See, what is our kids, the causes of death of our kids? Accidents, suicide, murder, in that order. By the children you shall know the society. What are they doing to themselves? That's what's happening. So that's the actions of this culture. Yes?
I just want to say, I really share with some of your goals, and I feel think that's really beautiful. I wonder how you envision implementing something like this, considering the hierarchy that's in place right now.
That's why I
and the whitewashing that you're talking about, what we're aware of, and what we accept.
I think what we have to do is know our ideals, know what we would like to have happen, agree on our premises of what we would like to see the world become, say, and then we can't do anything that's going to co-opt us in any way. We can't become a Democratic ticket representative or Republican or whatever we're going to do. So we can't, because once you do that, you're part of the system and they've got you. So we've got to figure out what we can do to either work around the system and develop this voting bloc. 51% don't vote, kid. That's a lot of people. And there's a lot of kids coming on that won't vote, but could. If there was something to vote for. So the only thing you could do now if you became president, let's say you wrote yourself in and you became president, because you have all these ideals and all that, the first thing you'd have to do is declare a state of emergency, state of war, send the Congress home, take over full powers. See, that's all you could do. You couldn't work with them. See? Right, you can't work with them. See? The health industry, right? The health industry, they just gave a bunch of committees over $5 million to do what they wanted to do, right? If a corporation gives you some money, they're not saying, hey, Harry, have a good time, do whatever you want. They're saying, hey, Harry, when I need you, be there, or you won't be in next year.
So how do you envision that transition is what I'm asking?
I don't know. I see it as this coming together first. Getting the names in the database, the addresses, get them in the computers, get networking with each other, you see, and input. Input with each other. Something's coming on down the line, how do we deal with this? See, working it out, how do we do it? How do we get that 51% to vote for what we want? First of all, we've got to stop the splintering of groups. We've got to come together. We've got to come together as one unit. You see, the enemy is very well mobilized. There's one thing they all agree on, those guys, that's profit. And anything that gets in that way, they come together, they work together. They're not competitive anymore. They've gotten big. They're nations. They have no loyalty to any nation state. You say they are entities unto themselves. So we have to become an entity unto ourselves. We have to become united. You can't have 15 different groups fighting, killing the wolves in Alaska. Get one. Get one. Get them all together, all these people. They only do that because they're competitive with each other. And that's wrong. You won't get anywhere. When styrofoam cups got outlawed and McDonald's and all that, I belong to every environmental organization in the world, right? I get all the literature. Every single one of them were telling me how they put styrofoam cups out of business. I didn't know who did it. You see, it might have been the school kids in New Jersey who started that campaign. I don't know. But that's competition. And competition won't work. We have to stop splintering off and come together. Yes?
One of the things about like the whole grassroots thing is that if the movement, like the wave swells to a certain point, it seems we always assume that there isn't going to be any kind of serious opposition from these powers that be. Like we're just going to sneak up on them. I mean, how do you propose to, if it comes down to the point where we're actually a threat, they're going to use their methods to come after us. What do we do
That's
there?
right. And that's what they're using right now to fill us with fear, so we don't. And they're showing that to us all over the world. Oh, you're going to fuck with us? Okay, we'll do this to you.
We should still have a plan, right, for when it comes down. You know?
What's that?
We should still have some sort of plan how to do it without violence when it does come down to that point.
That's right. You see, there's something else, though. There's something else. They have no philosophy. They have no morality, and they have no integrity. They only have money.
Yeah.
You see, and that's not enough to sustain anyone. It's not enough to sustain their children. Their children are against them in that way. You take a young kid, he doesn't know for money. He can't figure out why we don't just get in there and clean up the river or do anything. See, you take that idealism and you mobilize that idealism, and my belief is, see, either the truth sets you free or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you're dead anyway. So we should all do a mass suicide. I'm not for that. You know, I like life too much. And I believe in the truth. And I believe that your yes can be bigger than all their little no's. And I believe that when you have a philosophy, when you care about something, that's how this revolution in this country was won. Hey, there was nothing the British could do. They had much better army, a lot more money, a lot more behind them. See, but they kept marching, and the guys kept hiding behind trees, see, and popping them off.
Exactly.
And they hid behind trees because they knew that was the only way they could fight them. So it was a guerrilla war, and that's what this is. This is a guerrilla war.
That is.
You see, that's the only way we can do it. By the time they realize that it's out of hand, it's going to have so much truth and momentum and carry behind it that nothing can stop it. Nothing can stop it. That's what happened to this revolution. Nothing could stop it in 1776. They couldn't stop it. They tried. They couldn't stop it. It happens everywhere. That's how we lost Vietnam. We were in their country. They were not about to lose. It was their very, very land. You see, there was no way. They had the biggest army in the world, the mightiest army, the empire, us, went up against those little Chinese people, those little gooks. And they beat the shit out of us. You see, and left thousands and thousands of our men destroyed, fighting a guerrilla war. So I know this is very difficult to say. Everybody's sitting here, I'm scared. A lot of times I leave the studio in Austin when I've done a show and I think somebody's going to be in the bushes and pop me off. But nobody does. You see? And the weird old rednecks come up and go, I like what you're saying, girl. Girl, you know? I'm older than they are. You see? There is something in our spirit, in the human spirit. There's something lovely. There's something inextinguishable. And there's something else. There's me. And I have vowed my life to this revolution. I will not leave the world the way I found it. I will change it. And I trust myself to do it. Like I said earlier, I don't want power. I want people to get up off their duffs and realize that they have power, that they are in power, that they can do it. I see it at the farm every day. I live in a place where people show up who have been like stoned on acid for about 3 years straight every day. Every day. And they come on and they have been, they've been in the best rehabs, their parents, you know, everything's been done for them. They don't cure. They come there and they have a place to do what they love to do and bloom and grow. And you're standing there talking to a genius, a brilliant person who's just been crippled by the culture, but restored to health. So I know we can do it. I know we can do it. I have seen it. We have minds. Our minds can do anything. My response is that if you have to live the way they're setting it up for us, and the way they've set it up for us, then we got nothing to lose. Because we've already lost. So we got nothing to lose. And when you fight somebody who's got nothing to lose, you're fighting a pretty crafty person. They got nothing to lose. There's not much you can do to them. You may take them out, there's just going to be 10 more behind them. You may take those 10 more and there's going to be 100 behind them. If something is true, if something is moral, if something is right, for this time, at this age, which I believe equilibrium is, then there's not much you can do about it. It's like splitting the atom. The cat's out of the bag. Once you split the atom, that was it. There was no going back. The only thing that was wrong with that action was the politicians got a hold of it and used it as a bomb. There was no way we weren't going to split the atom. It was coming. Those were our minds. That's the beauty of us. We have lovely minds. We can do anything. See, the problem was it went to the politicians. We don't know nothing about nothing except how to kill and how to make profit. So I believe if you have something moral, if you have something righteous, if you believe in it, and you go after it, there's not much they're going to do. They can't. It seems impossible right now, right? You say, well, there's 3,500 people in Equilibrium Alliance, maybe 10 will be active, you know. But those 10 could be mighty. Don't forget, less than 1% of the population has always changed history. It's always less than 1%. That's the way it goes. You can look back in history and verify my facts. It's true. Every great movement has come from less than 1% of the population, religiously free. So it doesn't take a whole lot. It takes, I mean, what was the communist revolution? Not that it was a great thing, the way it went, but it was 17 people meeting in cellars for years. You know what I mean? And finally, the time was right. So great political or spiritual ideas happen at the same time that its need becomes more and more apparent and they meet. And then there's no stopping it. There's no stopping it. And I do believe we don't have to die.
But do we have to kill? That's my question.
I don't think so. I don't think we can get away with killing unless you've got some dedicated people who know how to do it very well and won't get caught. And that may come to that. That's not where we're going to go. You can't.
Well, I'd rather we didn't.
Yeah, all of us rather we didn't. But they've got us in abject slavery now. Yes.
First of all, I'd like to commend you a lot for coming out here and saying how much, you know, what you're doing is based on love. Because I think a big problem in activism today, or lack thereof, is that we don't realize the power that we do have, and it's because we don't know ourselves, we don't love ourselves. We've been taught how to hate ourselves, to dissociate from our bodies, to dissociate from the earth and each other, and we all know that, or at least some of us do. And I think that that it's a good place to start with really talking about how lovely we are as beings and lovable. And I think that I'd like you to talk maybe a little bit more about the problem with the people that we do have a lot of very high ideals, and we do mean a lot, and there are a lot of people that know that shit is bad and that we have to do something, or that we want to do something, but people are sitting around, you know, acting violently towards ourselves. You know, we treat ourselves like they want us to treat ourselves. And maybe we could talk a little bit more about ways that we can live our lives so that we are more in our power. You know?
Right. Well, the first thing to do is become cooperative. The first thing to do is wherever you can, get together with the people on your block, in your apartment house, in houses that you share, begin to survive together. Do a simple thing, buy your food together. See, you can buy a 50-pound sack of oats, right? Cost you nothing. You see, you share it, you're in survival together, you're easy on the ecology, right? You're not buying little separate boxes of little garbage, you know, to feed yourself. You're learning to become cooperative. You start by buying food together, you start by doing things together, you start by babysitting together, you start by sharing books together, you start by sharing vehicles or bicycles or whatever together. You form little blocks of people who are doing things cooperatively. That's first. That's the first thing you can do. As you do that, you find that you can cooperate. That you can work problems out. I don't want beans this year. I don't want black beans. I want red beans. What do you mean you want red beans? You don't go into it. And if you hang with it, you go through the arguments, you go through the whole thing, you come out with a conclusion, and you realize, oh shit, I just solved a problem. And I didn't have to write my congressman.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. They know it. These guys have been doing it forever. So that's one thing to do, you see? And the other thing to do is take things that you like. Let's say you come across a quote that just says it. Copy it. Spread it all over the place. Put it up on posters. Give it to your friends. Tell other people to copy it. Give it to little kids, right? Do art. You know, if you're good at art, do a pretty little thing. Do the same thing with that. Disseminate it. You see? Pick at certain things you don't like. Just get in and do things together. I don't want a revolution that isn't fun. I think we have to have fun. If we're not having fun, then it's not going to work. It's just going to be the same old boring crap. So those are the things, some of the things. I mean, we can sit down and I have all kinds of ideas this way. We can begin to learn what it's like to solve our own problems, to help survive for ourselves. And that way we'll learn how to solve our problems just by getting into survival together. Just little things. Yeah.
You talked earlier about how agriculture came about and there was separation, and then how TV made people separate also. And you also talked about like the Ford company and how they're so big.
Yeah.
How are you going to rely on computers and cars in your fight while you're supporting the same company and the same technology?
Yeah, that's a problem every revolutionary has to face. See, if you're fighting the thing that you're using, it's a paradox. It's a schizoid place to be. It's schizophrenic. But we are schizophrenic. You see? And we have to use whatever we can use. If they want to underwrite the revolution by keeping on producing computers, you see, then we will use them until such point that those computers are being produced by people who just produce computers, not bombs also. But for now, we're going to have to use whatever is available to us.
How are you going to make up the slack though while you're supporting? How are you going to catch up while you're supporting them using their technology? How are you going to catch up to them?
That's very easy because you see, you have so many brilliant people in this world who are working on that end. You see, and that's really right in place, ready to go. If you want to know about that, there's a book that Barry Commoner wrote. It's called Making Peace with the Planet. And in that, he lays out how to use everything that's here now and convert it to what's non-polluting. It's there. It's like a blueprint. The only reason they haven't done it is because there's no profit in it. So they ignore Barry Commoner, you see? But all that stuff is ready to be put online. It just takes a movement to create it. You see, they can produce solar cells cheap, but they won't do it as long as they got oil. Now, if we begin actions where we refuse, if we use, let's say we use less and less vehicles, you see, so the demand for that oil starts going down. They're going to start coming in with solar technology. Price is going to drop. I mean, I can go into this economically, but I'm a little fuzzy brained and a little scattered right now, so I can't really detail it for you. I'll be glad to do that later or through the mail together. through a computer or whatever, where we talk about this. First of all, I'm not going to have all the answers. When you say, how are you going to do it? My head kind of scrambles a little, you know? Okay, how are we going to do it? And I start thinking, well, I would expect you in the Equilibrium Alliance, let's say, to start thinking on that problem. Let's say we contact all the Equilibrium Alliance members and we say, okay, we got this problem. What's the input on it? How do we do this? And we start getting stuff in from all over the country. You've got to just start. We have to start. And then we have to believe in our minds, in our spirits, and who we are, and we'll find that we can do it. So at first, it's going to be full of contradictions. You see? Full of contradictions. I farm organically. I have horses that help me farm organically, but I also have a tractor. So while I'm farming organically, I'm putting garbage in the sky. And I have to live with that paradox right now. And I'm hoping someday I won't have to. That the batteries that we're experimenting with on our electric car can be converted for the tractors. You see? And meanwhile, I get in a rented car and go cross country. Or somebody gets on a plane and goes cross country, polluting as they go. Yes?
I identify a lot of what you said, especially like when you talk about, you emphasize that it's not just environmental problems, or that you made it originally like that, but it's clearly a cultural problem that's followed right along with.
It's been a cultural problem all along. We just haven't seen it.
Right.
Because it's the culture that produced pollution in the first place.
I'm very interested in social relations of people. And I think that if I've studied anything more in my life, it's been psychology, and I've had a lot of experience with dealing with, my own life and my own family. And I think what's very important, I always want to try and remember, is like my accountability to this changing process, and I think was inevitably going to be a revolution. And I think it's very difficult for Americans to see that, or really anyone in the West, it's so easy to kind of, since we're so naturally attuned to objectifying everything, especially problems, we don't want to see our role in it. We don't want to see, our effects or how much
What's
we
your
have
question
to.
on that?
Yeah, and so I just think like, I study politics and, really kind of lofty things, and even then, I don't want to have those circumstances feel, I guess I don't want to envision them as being separate from me. In other words, that they're the problem. It's really, it's my lifestyle and everyone else's lifestyle.
Yeah.
So how do you envision, in other words, beyond forming your own community, which I think I really want to be a part of, since I know I can't do it myself, and how do you envision people seeing their role?
I think as you begin to work together in your community, you begin to discover who can do what. You see, you begin to discover that some people are really brilliant in certain areas, and you begin to use them as resources. And then you begin to see that you are solving your problems, and that your lifestyle is changing because of that. And I think that if you get out there and start communicating with people, you find that across the board, they're willing to work with you. They just don't know how to go about it. So if you can become a leader in that sense, leading the way in that sense, you see, it's like my daughter is very good with horses, and she wanted to get a certain bit for her horse because he uses the hackamore. He doesn't use something in his mouth because it's very gentle. So she went to the store to get the right thing for him, the tack shop. Well, before I know it, she's talking to this other girl who's like her, a horse girl, and this girl's giving her a lesson on hackamores, and she's telling her, no, you got it all wrong, this is the way it is, and she's giving her a lesson, you see, and she's an expert. She's 20 years old, and she's an expert, and she knows what she's talking about. She takes the other bit and she demonstrates to us how hard that is, and it's beautiful, and she's an expert, you see. She knows her stuff. She knows horses, she knows cowboy lore, she knows everything. You see, so we start working with her. Well, she begins to know our lifestyle, we begin to know hers. We begin to communicate with each other. We begin to break down the barriers. We begin to come out of our house watching the horse on TV. And we begin to communicate with each other. The answer is in us. And we can get help from each other. We have to start. You see, it's very difficult to explain. People who live in community or co-ops understand this a lot better because they have to set their own agenda. They don't have a job. They don't go to school. They got to figure out their own agenda. Nobody's going to tell them what to do. So to survive, they have to get in it together, you see, and start communicating. So they understand right away, oh, this is a problem, we've got to solve it. And then you're not so much, you're an individual within a larger whole. See, and it's the good of the community that you begin to realize is the answer.
I think one of the things I want to emphasize was I see just a lot of blame,
See what?
a lot of blaming going on. In other words, I guess even among the academic community here at the Clark, in other words, it's very easy for people that are even experts in their field to say it's something else or someone else.
That's right. Because as Mindy said, you've been taught to not like yourself. So you're going to blame something else. You're not going to stand there and say, yeah, it's me. It's my fault, I did it, it's wrong. Because you're too afraid. Because that means you're a failure. You've got to be able to stand there. I always see in equilibrium culture where everything runs by town hall meetings, right? And you encourage the rowdy guys who want to get up and yell and fight. Get it out. Let them out. There's probably some truth in it. You know, let them say it. Get it out of their systems. The community has to know it. There can't be any secrets. There can't be any hidden agendas. I tell you, it's by working together that we'll do it. Okay? Yes, sir.
The tactics that you're advocating for this so-called revolution.
So-called?
So, revolution. I'm in complete agreement with them. I think the majority of people are, but they seem extremely reminiscent of the same mindset that led to the revolution in the 60s. And besides a few concessions, things got back to right where they started.
Yeah, well, you see, the revolution, quote, in the 60s was against a war. They had a rallying point, right, the war. As soon as the war was over, when they got tired of spending $1 million a day on that war, and the war was over, everybody went home, put their suits and ties on. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about keeping Congress or we're not talking about keeping the government in its present configuration at all. We're going way beyond that, quote, revolution that never happened. Way beyond it. We are saying that this is the time, this is the age, this is the moment for another form of government, another way to do business. And we won't stop until that's what's happening. We are not going to stand for it anymore. You see? That movie, you know, what the guys keep saying? I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm sick and tired and I'm not going to take it anymore. Whatever you say.
I'm mad as hell, but I'm not going to take it.
Yeah, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's it, see? They didn't know about taking out Nixon or changing the Congress or anything. They just wanted the war to end and not be drafted. And as soon as that was over, it was over. And so was good grass. The mafia came in, started adulterating the acid and adulterating the grass, and it was like a mess. Because this time we have to go all the way. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's not reminiscent of that at all. It's the same kind of person. It's the same kind of freak. It's the same kind of weirdo, right? Which 51% of this country probably is. You see? But don't vote. Or a good proportion of them. It's the same type of person, but it's going on. It's going past that. It's not going to just stop a negative action. It's going to change everything. Everything, the way we do it. It's 200 years that we've been doing this, a little over 200 years. It's not working.
Is there a rallying point now?
Yeah, join the Equilibrium Alliance. That's my rallying point. Because I don't see any other. If I saw another, I'd say do that.
You have a complete dedication and commitment to accomplishing the goal in whatever way gets created along the way as what is most appropriate to everybody's dedication and
That's
labor
right.
that they will donate to the movement.
The only thing we have to do is agree on our basic premises, that's all, what we want. All the other stuff,
Like we're mad as
diversity
hell.
is power, huh?
Like we're mad as hell and we're not going to.
Yeah, exactly. And what kind of world do we want to create? That we have to come to agreement on. We do. I know we don't want to. We're always a bunch of individualists and lawyers and all that. We don't want to agree on one thing. But we're going to have to agree on our premises. And then all the rest will take care of itself. In diversity, there's strength. We don't want everybody a clone of everybody else. That's dangerous. That's what you've got in agriculture right now. You need diversity. That's strength in a species. So whatever gets created along the way, as long as it's got what we want in mind, and that doesn't change, we're fine. I mean, what we want to do. You see? But it doesn't, you can look absolutely different in your action than me.
Yep.
You certainly don't need to do what I do, and that's for everybody in this room. We just need to agree that we want to do something else. We want to create a revolution that will end all revolutions. The mother revolution, you know? The mother of all revolutions.
I live in the city, and we have a project going where we have rehabilitated abandoned houses that have been around for 80 years. Many families have lived in these houses. They have maybe some fire damage or water damage, but they're still whole, complete shells with floors and walls, the ability to be rewired, replumbed, and we can put people in these houses to live. And they don't have to go out and earn 40-hour-a-week wage slave existence to have their vices and have their TV. They can instead choose to donate their labor and receive their board and their room for that, and live in a cooperative community which demonstrates labor to the community that surrounds it. Not everybody's living in a co-op. Our neighbors are Spanish and black. They are Cape Verdean and Haitian and Senegalese. Where's Daniel? He's over there. What we have done in the last few months alone, since winter turned to spring, has turned up in things like people all in our neighborhood now gardening and cleaning up their own yards, kids cleaning up the street. You'll see people hanging out on porches playing basketball where just weeks ago there were gunfights. You know, I'm talking like, you just get out there and do a few things and smile a little bit, and you're going to see some massive changes that people won't even understand that's what's going on. They'll just be like psyched.
It's good
that somebody's doing something.
It's good for people to know that it's going somewhere. See, they don't want it to end. It's just talked about the 60s. I've seen shows where people talk about the 60s in my generation. They're crying because it was the greatest time of their life, and it's gone. So we don't want to do that. So we want to let people know. That's why we have to have a cohesive unit. See, where people can hang their hats on it and say, this is going to go all the way. Yeah. I can keep this garden. I can keep what's happening. You see, it's not going to be taken away from me next week. And that's what we have to do for ourselves now. I have run out of energy, I'm afraid. And I had a beautiful quote that I wanted to read to you, but I forgot it. So, let me tell you that we're in this for love and not for money. Okay? In fact, we want to do away with money. All I am saying to you is that we have to join together now, and I'm asking you, I'm telling you that the Equilibrium Alliance is the thing right now to belong to. It's a very, very loose weed. Don't be afraid. You're not going to get hate mail, you know. You're not going to get on the FBI list. We may not even be calling it the Equilibrium Alliance next year. I don't know what it's going to be called. All it is, it's got 3,500 members in it now. All it is we are doing these membership drives. We are getting people signed up, and we will determine what kind of agenda they want to set out together. Okay? Thank you.
Sign up. Where do we sign